It's the Daylight Midnight Show.
Hello and welcome to the Daylight Midnight Show. My name is Greg, and just to mix things up a little bit, I'm going to start this show with a rhyming couplet. I hope, after the last 2 years, you're not fed up with me, because now I'm back again with Daylight Midnight Series 3. It's great to be back. I'm sorry it's been so long. I had these grand plans when we finished Series 2 last December. These wonderful ideas that what I would do is invest in a new camera, and I'd put up some proper lighting in here and would make it look more like a proper singing, dancing, professional setup, and then relaunch Daylight Midnight Series 3. Two thoughts popped in my head that made me change my mind about doing that. The first one is, I want to stay true to the integrity of the first series and the conditions under which it was filmed. We launched this during the first lockdowns when we had no access to anything and people weren't making deliveries, so I had to use the cheap camera that I already had. And although things have changed somewhat, I liked that genuine sort of haphazard look to the way things used to be, and I wanted to continue that rather than jar it by bringing in a completely different look. That was thought number one. Thought number two is, I'm really lazy and I couldn't be bothered to learn how to use a different camera and set up lights. So we're stuck with things the way they are. But we're back. And what's new, what's old? You'll notice we still have the expensive display cabinet that we spent 98% of the budget getting this thing made back in Series 1. Originally, it was the Gregometer display, giving you one word that summed up how I was feeling and what kind of show you might have. In Series 2, it was our word of the week screen, which we're not doing this year, so we couldn't afford to have this sitting here as a white elephant, so it does have a purpose in Series 3. We're going to do a little quiz every week where I'm going to give you a clue to a mystery object, and you have to work out what the object is in the 10 minutes of the show. If you get it right, you can award yourself a prize, and the answer is going to be displayed on here at the end of the show. So clue number one for this week then, this is it, the first time we're playing this, you've got to work out what I'm describing here. It's bigger than a pea, it's smaller than a pineapple, and you might have one in your fruit bowl. Now, a little extra clue for you. Because the two keywords in the clue begin with the letter P, you know that the answer also begins with the letter P, okay? So it's bigger than a pea, it's smaller than a pineapple, and you might have one in your fruit bowl. Have a think about that. I'll give you the answer at the end of the show. So you'll see we still have the Door of Delights, and the camera has been positioned so you get a better view of the Door of Delights, but at the moment it is sitting empty. So let's start filling it up. The first thing I have to put up is a copy of the house rules that I wrote back at the start of Series 1, the way the show was going to be structured and rules we were going to stick to. And I'll quickly go through just to give you a reminder of my sort of thinking when I started this show. So rule number one, no episode will be over 10 minutes long. I set a countdown timer at the start. When that timer goes off, that's the end of the show and it's goodbye. I haven't done that this week because I wanted to give myself a little bit of a break. We haven't done this for a while, didn't want the added pressure. But the sub rule of this is that if I do go over 10 minutes, then the next week I have to take however much time I went over by to reduce the runtime the next week so it averages out. So if this ends up being 15 minutes, I can only do a 5-minute show next week. Rule number two, no drink or drugs. That's for me, by the way. You can do what you like. Rule number three is family friendly, no swearing, no controversy. I want this to be something you can watch whatever age you are. Rule number four is no editing. So I will sit here, press record, and I will go on for about 10 minutes. There's no cutaways, there's no re-recording, no take twos. Whatever happens live is what you will see. And rule number five, which to me is the important one, I will not take this seriously. There's enough stuff going on in the real world and enough people commenting on it. The last thing you need is my two pence worth chucked in as well. So it's not going to be about current affairs, scandals, anything like that. No protests, no trends, just me and you, and primarily me trying to make you smile. So that's the rules. Let's put that up. I'm just going to use you can't use the word blue tack because we're not sponsored, so my generic blue sticky substance that will stick this to the wall in a tacky fashion. So the house rules I think are quite important, so let's put them centre stage there. We also have the oldest bit of paper in the studio, our show mascot, Pogo Dave Penguin, who was selected as the show mascot back in Series 1, I think, when I did this weird quiz to describe what kind of penguin I was, I think. And we named Pogo Dave Penguin as the show mascot, and I thought I had thrown the picture out, but I hadn't, so you can sit there, my friend. And the weird red bit is when I had to wear lipstick one week and I decided to plant a kiss on him. We also have in here a picture of the flag of the island nation of Kiribati. In Series 2 I did this project which I spent far too much time on No sane person would have done the same thing. But I looked at every single flag on Earth and I rated them based on how I would like them as a poster at the end of my bed on my bedroom wall to wake up to in the morning. So not rating them as a flag or as a symbol of national pride, but just as a picture and how much I'd like to see it. And this was my winner, and I said that I was going to print a copy of it off and put up, and I never did, so I've done it now. But this was on a day when our printer was playing up, so I don't think that's come out very well, so I might print a bigger one up. But I've tried to keep everything sort of small and manageable, so that we can fit more and more stuff on the Door of Delights as the series progresses. Speaking of flags, I asked, when I did that show about flags, for people to maybe come up with a flag for the Daylight Midnight show. I said, imagine we are an island nation and we need a flag. And my son, actually, Professor Logan, came up with this design, which I think is fantastic because, you know, you can move it around however you want to. So, again, this isn't a very good copy of it. This will all be printed out again in the future. But because it's called Daylight Midnight, I will put it that way round and we will sit our flag right there. And the final thing we have to put up at this point is the new and improved Series 3 version 3 of Outfit Roulette. Yes, it is back. I don't like having to pick my own clothing. I never know what to wear, so I've put some options on here, and we use the randomness of the Rubik's Cube at the end of every show. I throw this in the air with my eyes closed. Whatever it lands on, that corresponds to the column. So just so you can see, I've written in alphabetical order the 6 colours that are on the Rubik's Cube. I will throw it 3 times. The first time determines what I wear from this column, the second from this one, the third and final time the accessories from here. So just to quickly run through them, I haven't been very specific. I've put shirt and t-shirt, whereas before I've put specific ones and you end up seeing the same thing. So a shirt and t-shirt, and then I decide which one. The dress, nothing is an option. Vest and rash vest, which is what you wear under a wetsuit. I've got one of those. It costs quite a bit of money. I don't wear it very often, so this is an opportunity. The second column is what goes on the outside of that. So we have a jumper, body warmer, a suit jacket, like what this one is, my big fluorescent jacket, which is really warm, so I don't know why I've put that on there, a scarf or a golf jacket. I tried to mix it up from previous versions of Outfit Roulette. And then the accessories this year, we have a bow tie, braces, makeup, a flat cap, sunglasses and a baseball cap. So you will find out at the end of the show what I'm going to be wearing for next week's show, and we'll do that at the end of each show, and then I don't have to choose what I want to wear. But I have just noticed on this, there is actually an option where I could be wearing nothing on top and then just a scarf, and nobody wants to see the upper half of my body. So I think if that happens, I'll use about 12 scarves and wrap them all the way around me. So where should we put the, let's put Outfit Roulette there. No, let's put it there, because then I don't have to turn around so far when I do it, and that, you know, aesthetically that might be better. So, the Door of Delights is starting to take shape. Something we have as well, which is an old thing, but in a new guise, is this. You might remember the brown folder from previous series, where I would write stuff down during the week, so I didn't forget them, and then we'd just talk about them on the morning. This has had an upgrade. This has been through very, very expensive treatment, and it's now become a little device called the Cartoonimator. So during the course of a week, I will put in here all my thoughts and feelings, little interesting facts I've come up with during the week, or something new that I've learnt. And on the morning of recording the Daylight Midnight show, this will produce a little cartoon to sum up the previous 7 days. So this is set and programmed this morning, so I'm going to open it now and reveal what this week's cartoon is, and then it will provoke me to tell you what it refers to. So this appears to be a cartoon of me, and you can tell it's me because it's tall and it has no muscles on its arms, and it's starting to get a middle-aged pot belly there. And you'll notice that under the receding hairline I'm sweating quite profusely. And this relates to a couple of things that have happened since the end of Series 2. Number one is, for the first time, I caught COVID, and no one wants to hear about that anymore. We're all fed up with it, but it did leave me in quite a sweaty state for about 24 hours. And the second thing that happened is the heat wave that we had in Britain earlier this summer. Second week of July, I think, the 2 hottest days on record. 37.5 it got to outside my front door. And at the time, I was rehearsing a play that we put on the last weekend of July. And on those 2 really hot days, I had to drive for almost an hour to get to the rehearsal space in the hottest part of the day, sort of 3 or 4 o'clock in the afternoon. Now let me take you back to this time last year when we bought a new car, second-hand car but new to us. And when we bought it, the guy said, I'm going to be honest with you, the air conditioning unit doesn't work. doesn't need regassing, doesn't need repairing, it's had it, it's broken. And we went, well, we live in Norfolk. How often do you need air conditioning in your car? So we bought the car anyway, and fast forward to this July, 37 degrees. I had to drive for over an hour, and it was one of the most unpleasant experiences of my life. I'd covered it in a sheet, I had the windows open, I'd done everything that you're supposed to do. The car was baking hot, it was like climbing in an oven, and driving along, it was like driving a barbecue. I tried the windows up with the fan on full blast, but of course all that does is recycle the air in the car, so it was getting hotter as the minutes went on. I was going at 70 miles per hour down a main road, and I thought if I open the windows now, surely the inrush of air will cool it down a bit. I opened all the windows and the car got hotter. It was literally like driving a sauna. So that is the relevance of the cartoon maker. And actually, do you know what? Why don't we make it a weekly venture that I will pin this up on the Door of Delights as a reminder, and then talk about it, and then at the start of next week's show I can take it off and replace it with a new one. So that's not bad going, filling up the Door of Delights so much in the first 10 minutes of this series. So that is basically it. That's the way things are going to be for the next few weeks as we race towards the end of the year. So let's do outfit roulette then. Just a reminder then, so that's, I've reminded you already. So I throw this up in the air with my eyes closed, or I catch it, and then with my eyes closed I'll wiggle it around so you know I'm not cheating, and then I will reveal the colour and together we'll see what it is. So next week I will be wearing, from column 1, whatever is in yellow, and yellow is my rash vest, so my rash vest that goes under a wetsuit. Over the top of that I will be wearing whatever is in, that's orange, that might look too red, but that's orange. And orange is my fluorescent jacket. It's going to be very bright next week and very hot. And to accessorise all that, we will have whatever is in column green, which is makeup. What a look that's going to be. So a rash vest over that big fluorescent jacket, and I will be wearing makeup as well. And then I'll decide whether to replace those so that we don't have the same thing come up again. So that's the end of episode 1. Oh, we've got to reveal the answer to the quiz then. And don't forget, if you get the answer right, you award yourself a nice prize. So the clue was, it's bigger than a pea, it's smaller than a pineapple, and you might have one in your fruit bowl. The answer this week was a pomegranate. I will see you next week. Have a great 7 days.